Good day everyone, I'm Mark Anthony BAJADA from BSED Science 1A. Today, I and my groupmates RHYZA BALGOS and Victoria Lily BAIDO will going to discuss the chapter 2, the communication and globalization.
Learning outcomes. At the end of this chapter, you are expected to number 1, explain how cultural and global issues affect communication and appreciate the impact of communication on society and the world. Definition of terms. Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. Globalization is the act or process of globalizing, the state of being globalized. Conversation is interactive communication between two or more people. Internet is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities consisting of interconnected networks using standardized communication protocols. Technology is a machinery and equipment developed from the application of scientific knowledge. Cultural barriers are challenges to cross-cultural communication within an organization. Culture is the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people, encompassing language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, and arts. Global village is the world viewed as a community in which distance and isolation have been dramatically reduced by electronic media, such as television and internet. Barriers are natural formation or structure that prevents or hinders movement or action. Face-to-face is within each other's sight or presence. Connection is a relationship in which person, thing, or idea is linked or associated with something else. Artificial intelligence, the ability of a digital computer or computer-controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. Isolation is without relation to other people or things separately. Technology addiction can be defined as frequent and obsessive technology-related behavior increasingly practiced despite negative consequences to the user of technology. Web refers to the means by which computers communicate with each other using markup languages and multimedia packages. Connected means joined or linked together. Telephone is a telecommunications device that permits two or more users to conduct a conversation when they are too far apart to be heard directly. Globalization and global are terms we often encounter today. These terms are associated with realities outside the territories of nation-state. All countries are engaged in globalization. Very few, if any, societies are unaffected by this phenomenon. Because of this, we need to understand exactly what it is and, more importantly, how it impacts communication. How do you think cultural and global issues affect communication? Connecting with people on the other side of the world is now much easier than it was a few years ago. Satellites, fiber optic cables, and the internet make it effortless to share information with those in different time zones and locations. Global communication is directly affected by the process of globalization, and it helps to increase business opportunities, remove cultural barriers, and develop a global village. Both globalization and global communication have engaged in environmental, cultural, political, and economic elements of the world. What is globalization anyway? By Alex Gray. In simple terms, globalization is the process by which people and goods move easily across borders. Principally, it's an economic concept, the integration of markets, trade, investments with few barriers to slow the flow of products and services between nations. There is also a cultural element as ideas and traditions are traded and assimilated. Globalization has brought many benefits to many people, but not everyone. How did globalization happen? We may think of globalization as a relatively new phenomenon, but it's been around for centuries. One example is the Silk Road, when trade spread rapidly between China and Europe via an overland route. Merchants carried goods for trade back and forth, trading silk as well as gems and spices and coffee. What drives it? Globalization has speeded up enormously over the last half-century. That is because of technology. The internet has revolutionized connectivity and communication and helped people share their ideas much more widely. Just as the invention of printing press did in the 15th century, the advent of email made communication faster than ever. The invention of enormous container ships helped too. In fact, improvements in transport generally, faster ships, trains, and airplanes have allowed us to move around the globe much more easily. What's good about it? Globalization has led to many millions of people being lifted to poverty. Globalization has not only allowed nations to trade with each other, but also to cooperate to each other as never before. But what's the negative about it? While some areas have flourished, others have floundered as jobs and commerce move elsewhere. Every step forward in technology brings with it new danger. Computers have vastly improved our lives, but cybercriminals steal millions of pounds a year. Global wealth has skyrocketed, but also has global warming. Basically done wisely, globalization could lead to unparalleled peace and prosperity. Done poorly, to disaster. The impact of globalization on communication. As more people cross borders because of globalization, more language contact happens, making communication more challenging. Increased business opportunities with networking. To simplify this, because of technology, it is not impossible now to communicate with the other side of the world. Thus, many businesses are able to take advantage of opportunities in different countries or cities, improving the economic outlook on a global level. Fewer cultural barriers. Many people perceive culture as the source of communication difficulties. When people from two different cultures try to exchange information, their speaking style, body language, or attitude may be interpreted differently by the other person. The way people approach problems and how they participate in communities is influenced by culture. Cultural barriers are becoming less common with television and movies. Being able to communicate effectively and frequently with colleagues or friends across the planet helps people understand each other's culture a little better. Creation of a global village. Global village was constructed by a theorist McLuhan. Global village is created when distance and isolation is disregarded, caused by globalization and global communication. Virtual assistants became a commonplace for people of different time zones and locations to connect with each other. However, because of various cultures, communication became vague and oftentimes misinterpreted. Communication breaks down barriers. When you are communicating with someone in their own language and style, there is understanding, and with understanding, there is empathy. There you can create a connection. Communication inspires. I know most of us have already been inspired because of what we saw or heard, whether on TV, radio, or by a speech. One day, you watch a TV and the show is something that makes you cry. The lines of the characters in the show has been saved in your memories, and you never forget it even a long period of time have passed. That is how communication inspires. Something about writing or words inspires us to be better than we can be on our own. Something that engages us and connects us to ideas in extraordinary ways.
Here we have an article written by Sherry Turkle titled The Flight from Conversation. If I were asked, what advantages has technology brought upon us? I might say that technology made connecting with each other much easier. However, Sherry Turkle emphasized that having deep and real conversation with other people is much more important than mere connecting. Sherry Turkle is a professor in the program in Science, Technology, and Society at MIT. She has written many books about psychology of human-technology relationships, especially in the area of how people interact with each computational objects. She stated in the article that she has been studying this subject for 15 years, which established the credibility of her article. The Flight from Conversation talked about how people are willing to sacrifice real conversations for online technological connections. Turkle have included in the article a lot of examples showing how people living in this era are more comfortable in talking through gadgets than actual conversation. There were 3 major key points in Turkle's article. First, communication is much preferred through technology rather than face-to-face conversations. Second, we seek comfort through technology. And last, we rely on our screens to feel less lonely. The first major key points, Turkle showed a lot of examples showing how people would rather sit in silence together with their faces glued to the screens. Turkle mentioned in her article that she prefers face-to-face conversations over technology because it increases our interpersonal skills, patience, and self-reflective skills. The second major key points, we seek comfort through technology. Miss Sherry Turkle have also focused on how people would post their problems on social media instead of seeking out the help of real people that actually cared. Last, we rely on our screens to feel less lonely. Turkle wrote in her article that we lose our capability to be a separate person if we constantly connect through technology. She stated that people would fidget and reach for their phone after being away from it for a second. We think constant connection will make us feel less lonely, but the opposite is true. Turkle wrote that constantly being on our phone provides 3 powerful fantasies. First, that we will always be heard. Second, that we can put our attention wherever we want it to be. And third, that we never have to be alone. In the end of the article, Turkle proposed 3 solutions to reclaim conversation. First, introduce conversational Thursdays. In a business setting, trust and understanding between employees is essential to function to the best of the abilities, and the only way to achieve this is having real conversation. Second, make a room for it. Making our rooms means we have to designate places to be device-free zones. Third, teach your children to be alone. Being alone is not bad. In fact, it teaches us the beauty that there is in solitude, increased focus, and independency. If children knew how to be lonely, then we will less likely feel the need to announce what's going on with our lives through social media. People need to build meaningful relationships with others to succeed in life. Without these relationships, people feel lonely and seek companionship, which they find through technology, and the cycle just keeps repeating. Technology is such a great advancement in our society, but certain aspects of day-to-day life cannot be attained through these online techniques.
How communication in our society is affected by the rapid growth of technology. People tend not to get along with other people as a result of technology because they believe that technology can do all that a human person can. They prefer to use their phones even though they are with their peers in certain group of friends, which causes them to lose touch. It is clear in today's world, particularly given that we are in the midst of a pandemic and are becoming increasingly reliant on technology. Despite the gaps, technology binds the people. However, the sincerity is debatable. While action speaks louder than words, this does not imply that anyone who sends you an I love you message without taking any action is in love with you. It's easy to say, but it's difficult to achieve. Technology addiction is one of the drawbacks of using technology. Rather than doing something useful, we like to browse the internet to keep up with current events. Time flies by so quickly that we fail to do the task that needs to be done. As Christian Laos Lang said, technology is a useful servant, but a dangerous master. How social media makes history. The internet has played a significant role in our lives, providing opportunities to connect and exchange crucial information through social media, the internet, and the websites. It puts other languages closer together by allowing you to interact and communicate with people from all over the world. It is clear that news and entertainment are now available on the internet, while formerly they could only be viewed on TV, heard on the radio, or read in the newspaper. Behind the negative impact, the internet has a positive side that allows users to communicate from all over the world and keeps people up to date with an individual's locations as they post their locations on the internet. The earthquake in China, which affected some people who have seen what happened after the earthquake because it is being shared by Chinese people, has resulted in donations being submitted. The downside is that you have no say to what is shared in the internet, and any of what is shared may damage someone's or a country's image. Since technology and creativity does not limit its potential to evolve, social media makes history. It continues to improve over time, making it easy for us to do if we have a decent internet connection. Wiring a web for global good. The web, the internet, or social media used to link people from all over the world, and it allows each person's religion and culture to be shared. UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown believes that social media and the internet will foster universal understanding as a result of common global ethics. Virtual communities can bind you with others on the internet. And whether an elected official posts his or her campaign on the internet or via social media, an individual's viewpoint can make such leaders see what the public really desire for a stronger society. Distances are irrelevant in media. Even though people are 1,000 miles away, information may be exchanged. Humanity can be built by the use of media. It should be used to raise awareness and provide knowledge to people from different countries in order to improve real partnerships and create safer environment to live in. By using the internet, we have provided the potential for a real connection. The internet should be used cautiously, and you should always consider how and what you post can affect a single person. It should not be used to humiliate or ridicule individuals, but rather to improve the society as a whole. Connected but alone. Technology and devices makes our jobs simpler and more effective in today's world. We use it to connect with loved ones miles away from us, as well as for online courses, which are essential for students like us that needs huge amount of time. Chat booths and sociable robots are examples of technologies that can help you feel like you're talking to a living individual. The media is supposed to bind us, but it seems that we're not linked and are just looking for ways to avoid reality. Rather than us controlling social media dominates us. If you were in the middle of a conversation with a friend and your phone rang, you would most likely answer it right away, because it might be something important. You prefer to ignore them and embrace and face technology. We desired a connection that was neither too tight nor too loose. We are together in a physical location, but because you're using technology and for a brief moment to have a real interaction with the people around you, but no one is paying attention, so you will turn to technology to stop feeling empty and alone. There are 3 reasons why technology is appealing. It gives us the ability to direct our focus. We will always be heard but never be alone. We are compelled to forgo a communication for a favor of mere touch. That is why the key aim is to have a self-aware partnership with technology, others, and ourselves, rather than to get rid of these machines.